You use what kind of engines? Cries the second Disaster Response Commissioner, in a shocked and deeply confused tone. The haphazardly dressed human at one end of the table nods in response to the shout. I'm not joking. We find them cheaper and more reliable. They simply have less parts. About 5 hours earlier, Disaster Response Corps Commissioner Kirschka was not having a good time of things. At 4:24 a.m., a Terran freight spacecraft, cross-code number C2276HL, had entered an orbit around Eris's second smallest moon on a routine refuel stop, engines flaring with the characteristic orange white of human sublight engines, when the entire ship went up, a violent blast shredding the blocky freight vessel into orbital debris that was now raining down on the barren rock below. Almost immediately, the finely tuned machinery of the Disaster Response Corps sprung into action, and the Vulpine Commissioner had been dragged out of a comfortable sleep and straight into the offices. Within an hour, an investigation team assembled and underway with Kirschka as the leader. The Secretary finishes explaining the start to finish of what they know so far, the Commissioner chewing on a stick of plant-based stimulant, similar in usage to coffee, a common habit as demonstrated by the teal tint to her teeth, before staring blankly at the neatly filed report in front of her and stating in a monotone, firm voice, "That's impossible." Before the unfortunate Secretary, even less pleased to be here than she is, can answer, she continues, "You tell me the first response team thinks the explosion started in the engines and moved up the ship? That is impossible. A rocket engine can't do that. They can overheat, they can melt the exhaust cone, they can shatter or melt the reactor plates, they can corrode themselves to dust or gimbal right out of their mountings, and a million other faults. But unless you're in an atmosphere with oxygen, a rocket engine will not explode." She's right, of course. Such a thing is entirely unheard of, since the JDSV human spirit arrived in air-sick space and heralded in the modern age. There has only been a single rocket explosion, one in the upper atmosphere of the homeworld, and the direct result of an attack by godforsaken idiots. So, sabotage. The debate rages on, all the while more information steadily arrives, the absurdly streamlined bureaucracy of the A-Risk putting any Terran disaster response to shame. The cleanup operation completes just 4 hours after the incident. Already half the parts catalogued and laid out for investigation, and already sabotage ruled out. There's no motive, no bomb. The ship was hauling mostly empty containers with the same crew that have staffed it for the past 6 years. Finally, on a full stomach, an empty platter in the middle of the table, Kirschka's mind had moved to other matters. What about the secondary fuel tank? Prompting nods of agreement from the 5 other response team commissioners around the table. True, it has entirely different geometry and reinforcements. It can handle much denser gases than the primary. Do we have access to schematics for the class? Not within 5 days. Human administrators move slower than native flower species known to continually move towards brighter areas. Babble rising again as theories and half-baked ideas fly around the table, centered on that mysterious extra fuel tank, seen in not a single air-risk ship design. The Secretary sharply cutting in and silencing things for a moment, with a statement of, "Can't we ask the exchange mechanic?" An awkward pause, as all eyes turn towards them. The exchange mechanic is the nearest available human. Everyone in the room knows that. Sent by a cultural integration program that one of their nations is running, bringing human engineering principles to A-risk problems. The Secretary sheepishly continues, "All our ships use, a set of basic parts that are the same purpose between models. If the same holds true for human, Terran craft, we don't need schematics. We can just ask one. A human, I mean." Once the furless, flimsy-looking mechanic had been summoned to the team office, it takes him mere moments to glance at the photos of the destroyed secondary fuel tanks and give them an answer. It says right there on that warning sign, that's the oxidizer tank. It takes a bit more probing from the officials, and an incredulous shout of, "Use what kind of engines?" before they can decipher what the tired human means. Chemical-fired rocket engines. Humans in the modern age use chemical-fired rocket engines. Kirschka states in a tired tone of voice. Of course they do. Sure. Travelling to the stars in a godforsaken bomb despite the alternatives they invented themselves. How very human. Ultimately, the disaster was filed away with only a brief investigation needed. A result of overworked maintenance staff by human corporations. And for the A-Risk, the only policy change? A human engineer joining the permanent roster of the Disaster Response Corps, on call to consult on matters of the absurd engineering practices of the Terran populace.